Hey, girls and boys, I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about Jesus feeding 5,000 people. And it's kind of a crazy story, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. I remember, and just to give you a little idea, I remember one time going to a birthday party, and I was very young. I can't remember what age, but when I went to this party, it ended up there was more kids than they thought were coming. So the cake wasn't very big. So they only gave us a little tiny piece of cake. And it wasn't enough to fill us up. And I thought about that, and I was like, man, I wish I had some more cake. I wish I had. And back when I was growing up, that's all you had at birthday parties was cake and ice cream. You didn't have pizzas and all this other stuff that people do now for birthday parties. But I can remember thinking they made that one little sheet cake feed a bunch of kids, but they had to cut really small pieces, really small pieces. Well, the story I want to talk about in the Bible is Jesus and his disciples. They were talking, he was talking to this crowd. Well, he realized that the crowd was big, so he had to go somewhere, and he'd been talking to them for a long time, but he had to go somewhere where they could all see him. Well, then, because he'd been talking for a long time, the crowd was getting hungry, and they started talking about being hungry and being hungry. And Jesus tells his disciples that we need to feed these people. And so they're like, do we need to go buy all this bread and stuff to feed all these people? And he said, well, let's look around and see what we got. Well, they come up with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. To me, that's not a very good lunch. But anyway, I don't really like fish. But so they come up with this stuff, and they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do to feed 5,000 people. Well, 5,000 men. Some people say that it was more than that because women and children were there too. So, but anyway, the Bible says he feeds 5,000. So we're going to go with that. So they look around and they find five loaves of bread and 2 fish. And so they're like, what? This is not enough, Jesus. This is not enough. And Jesus says, trust me. And this is Lewis' paraphrase, by the way. He says, trust me. Just start handing it out. So they go around and they start handing this stuff out. They're breaking off bread and they're handing out fish, and they're breaking off bread and they're handing out fish, and they're breaking off bread and they're handing out fish. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. And you see, then at the end, he tells them to go take up the leftovers. And the disciples are like, leftovers? I don't even know how we fed all these people with what we had. Then they go around and pick up all these leftovers, and they get all this extra food. But I just want to talk about this story to tell you that no matter how bleak, how bad the situation looks, Jesus can handle it. He took all that 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish and fed 5,000 people with it. Do you think our little old problems he can't handle, that we can go to him for anything and everything? I think it's awesome to think about that. So just remember, you can pray. And if you want to read more about this story, I kind of paraphrased it for you because we had this short time. But it comes from Mark chapter 6, beginning with verse 30. And you can read all the way down through there and read about Jesus feeding these 5,000 people with those 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. All right, well, I'm going to go, and I thank you for it, and I hope you'll go and read that and think about it. Next time you have a big problem that seems like it's way too big for you to face, talk to Jesus about it, because at one point in time, Jesus took 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish and fed 5,000 people. Ain't that amazing? All right, bye, guys. We'll see you later.